now that we talk about technology, it's very easy when you go to a meeting and someone goes like, yeah, blah, 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 AI, blah, 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 blockchain, blah, 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 deep learning. And then when you ask people like, do you fully understand what you're saying? Yeah, of course, we are an IoT company that uses AI in the blockchain. Like, clearly you're not understanding what you're talking about. So to talk about this kind of wordings and do they matter, do they don't matter, I want to introduce our next speaker, which has an incredible career. He's currently the CEO at the Disruptive Group. Prior to that, he was a managing director at Citi. He was also a manager at RBS. He was founder and CEO of a venture-backed company called Ukibi, which was the precursor of LinkedIn at the time. He's been a former fintech advisor in the before he was at the FinTech Advisory Board at the World Economic Forum. He sits on the board of different fintech organizations like FinTech Hong Kong. He's a mentor also at Asian Supercharger, which is one of the largest fintech accelerators in Asia. And among all of this stuff, he runs probably one of the most popular blogs around disruption, innovation, and finance called Disruptive Finance. And to talk about all this, I want to welcome our next speaker on stage. Please welcome Hugh Nguyen, CEO for the Disruptive Group. Big applause, people.
So good morning. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today. And the title of my presentation, I just took two of the most hyped terms, which is blockchain and AI, and I just put them together. So that's the way I started this. Let me tell you about why I chose this title and what I'm going to talk about. Basically, here I'm wearing two different hats. The first hat that I have is as CEO of the Disruptive Group, which is a business builder. So, as a lot of you in the room, I'm an entrepreneur. So as an entrepreneur, you can't just choose any areas to work in. You need to have a real understanding of what you want to do. And so this difference between blockchain and AI, I think, is quite fundamental as an entrepreneur. The second hat that I have is as a teacher. So I'm co-founder of the Center for Finance, Technology, and Entrepreneurship, and I'm a fellow at Oxford. And I teach people. I teach finance professionals. I teach entrepreneurs. So it's quite key that when you teach the right things. So that's why I wanted to talk about these two topics, which most of the time are bundled together, which is blockchain and AI. So first, what am I talking about when I say, is AI the new blockchain? Do I just talk about the interest? Because there's been a humongous amount of interest in blockchain over the last few years. Here's just a very simple Google Trends that we've seen over the last 5 years, where we saw blockchain going from nowhere to a huge amount of interest, pretty much at the end of last year, and slowly going down. So are we talking about interest? Are we talking about the next big thing? So we know that a lot of people consider that blockchain is the next big thing. You can see some of the quotes here, and the last one being blockchain, the most significant invention since the internet and electricity. So are we talking about this next big thing? I know there are quite a lot of investors here. Are we talking about VC funding? If you look at the investment of funding that went into blockchain startups over the last few years, the most funding we ever had was the beginning of this year, the first half of this year, where there were more than $1 billion invested into blockchain startups. And of course, I'm not even talking about ICOs that raised multiple times this amount. So let's compare that with AI. Interest in AI, I take the same thing, Google Trends, over the last 5 years, pretty much the same. A bit of interest 5 years ago, and then went up very, very significantly. The highest interest was pretty much at the beginning of this year in artificial intelligence. But of course, not the whole story, because if you followed the AI story for quite a long time, you know that AI has been around for a long, long time. Here's the same graph, but not on 5 years, but on 10 years. When did we have the most interest in AI? We had a lot of interest at the beginning of this year, but actually we had a lot of interest already a bit more than 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So AI is not a very recent story. It's a story that has been around for decades. AI has been the next big thing since, not since last year, since 1956. You can see some of the quotes of some of the genius behind AI in 1965 already saying, in our lifetime, we will have machines that will be more intelligent than people. Unfortunately, I think Marvin Minsky is dead now, so it hasn't happened. Do you know what it is? This. It's HAL. So it's HAL, this robot, this computer that was more intelligent than us in the Space Odyssey. I don't remember when it was created, actually. I think like 1970 or something like that. So the movie, what at that time, 1970 something. And in the movie, actually, this film is supposed to take place in 1992. So that's really interesting that 50 years ago, people had this vision of AI, already being at the level which is at the same level as people. And VC funding, very, very big last year already, where the amount of VC funding was really big during the internet bubble in 2000, went down for a very, very, very long period of time, and then last year, 15 billion invested in AI, 10 times more than blockchain. So taking all of that, what have I given you? As a professor, I wouldn't be a very good professor because I've given you a lot of facts, but not a lot of interpretation. So what I'll do now is that I'll give you my opinion in terms of blockchain and AI and what's happening. And here I'll try to answer a very, very simple question, which is, should you be involved in AI or should you be involved in blockchain? As an entrepreneur and as an investor. Of course, there's very, very big caveats. Like it's a very generalized view of what I'm going to be doing, and there's going to be millions of other examples, but I'm just going to give you the big picture, which is, should you be involved in blockchain or AI? So let's talk first about blockchain, because blockchain has been hyped before AI, I would say. And here's my view from 2 years ago, in this place, actually, so that's why I wanted to take the picture, because it's a nice coincidence. 2 years ago, a bit more than 2 years ago, I was at MoneyConf with some very good speakers, and we're talking about blockchain. And my view hasn't really changed, actually, from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, my view on blockchain was very simple. First, amazing vision. Coming from the finance world, a vision where you can send an asset, you can send money from here to Singapore in no time, for free, it's just amazing. It's really, really disruptive for finance to be able to do these kind of things. Today, it doesn't work. Today, you can send an email for free from here to Singapore. It's instant, but there's no way you can do the same thing for money. So if you can do it for money, it is amazing. So the vision is amazing. Blockchain is an amazing vision. The technology doesn't work. Or I would say the technology doesn't work for finance. The technology is still very immature. Why? I'll give you a very simple number. This is just a number I took from an average platform that trades FX, foreign exchange. This is, on average, what they trade every day, $1.67 trillion. How much do you trade every day on the blockchain? Not even 1,000th of that. The example I gave 2 years ago is that at that time, on the blockchain, you were trading Bitcoin, you were trading $1 billion of Bitcoin every week. What I was saying at that time, I was at Citibank, I was saying, at Citibank, I can trade $1 billion of FX in 1 second. Just someone calls me, I trade $1 billion, and that's it. It took a week to do exactly the same thing for Bitcoin. So the technology wasn't mature. It is more mature today, but it's not mature yet for the applications you would want, especially in finance. And the third thing, which was really, really important, is that the blockchain needs a network effect. You can't really do blockchain with yourself. Or you can, of course, but there's not a lot of interest of doing the blockchain with yourself. And so what's the result of that? The result of that is that a lot of the blockchain initiatives are from consortiums, are from networks. You have a lot of entities that need to work together to make it happen, which is great, but which, of course, means that it requires a lot of time, it requires a lot of consensus, it requires a lot of efforts. So my answer, and here it's a very partial answer, so I do apologize for making it a generalization. So how long do we see results on the blockchain side? If I was an entrepreneur, typically, I'm not sure I would start on the blockchain. Why? Because of all of these reasons. Because the technology is still immature, so you'd spend a lot of time in research and development. So I'm not totally sure that as an entrepreneur I would want to spend a lot of time in research and development. And secondly, because you need to convince a lot of people. So when do we see results in blockchain? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's going to take time. I think it's a great vision, but I don't know. What does it mean from a business opportunity? And here I'll give you a very concrete example. As co-founder of CFT, last year we had a lot of requests from our students to create courses on blockchain. So from a commercial standpoint, there was a very clear opportunity. A lot of people were saying, I want to learn about blockchain. Could you create courses about blockchain? We thought very hard about it, and we didn't do it. The reason we didn't do it wasn't because of the commercial opportunity. We didn't do it because as teachers, as professors, we didn't feel that it was fair to create courses about blockchain and send the signal that a lot of the entrepreneurs who are training should go into that space. So that's about blockchain. Now let's talk about AI. My view on AI today, so in the same way as we had a lot of requests on blockchain and people wanted to create a course, we decided we're not create a course on blockchain. Actually, we will create a course about artificial intelligence. So to give you an idea, and if you're an entrepreneur, I think you can relate to that, whenever we create a course, it takes us 6 months. We have teams of more than 10 people. It costs us hundreds of thousands of pounds to create a course. So it's like a small project, so you properly invest in that project. And so here, AI, we decided to create this course in AI for 2 reasons. First, because we think there's a commercial opportunity. Enough people are interested in AI. But much more than that, as professors, as teachers, we think that it is an area where people should be looking into. And so why were we so convinced and why did we spend so much time in creating this course? First is that AI is not a vision. It's a reality. Let me ask you a question. Who in this room has used any of those 3 tools? A lot of people. Who has used the blockchain recently? A bit less. So this is my point about not being a vision, but being a reality. Everybody uses AI today. The second one is the technology is mature. You're all using it. Now, I can give you examples, and you'll see a lot of examples today, but examples in terms of word recognition. Machines are pretty much at the same level as people in terms of word recognition. In terms of image recognition, that's pretty much the same. In terms of reading tests, you're starting to see machines reaching the level of human capabilities. But the most important thing is this, is the no need for network effect. And this, it took me a lot of time to understand this. And I understood it from someone much smarter than me, from Stefan Müller, who is the former global CTO of UBS. And he's actually one of the senior lecturers on our courses. And I was sharing with him, I was saying, I've created courses for a long, long time. I've created courses at Oxford, at Hong Kong University, CFT. And the AI course was the most difficult by far. Why? First, because AI is a difficult topic. But the second reason is that when we went and found lecturers, we found very, very good lecturers. We asked the lecturers, do you want to participate and teach on the course? In a lot of cases, they came back and said, yeah, I'd be very happy to. Then a few days later, they came back and they said, actually, sorry, my employer doesn't really want me to teach about it. And so that's why Stefan Murer said, you should really understand something, which is the difference between system innovation and competitive innovation. System innovation is all about those network effects. It's like the blockchain. You can't do the blockchain by yourself. You need a lot of people to work on this. So that's about system innovation. And so what do you want to do in system innovation? You want as many people to know about this as possible. You want to share about it as much as possible. And actually, you want to invest in it as little as possible. A lot of noise, not necessarily a lot of investment. It's about system innovation. Competitive innovation is totally different. Competitive innovation, if I use a competitive innovation, it's for me to be better than my competitors. So what you want to do is that you want to invest a lot in it, but you don't really want to talk a lot about it. And so why is it interesting for you as an entrepreneur? Why is it interesting as an investor? Is that a lot of things are happening on the AI side, but we don't really see it. We don't really see it because people use it for themselves, people use it to be more competitive, but they don't really want to share about it. So I was talking about all these very hyped terms like blockchain and AI. Of course, don't believe the hype. It's important to make your own conclusion. But the main difference of AI is that it's happening today, but you don't really hear about it. So how long before we see results in AI? It's now. It's happening today. You've seen it. And if I had to conclude, what's the main difference between blockchain and AI? Is AI the new blockchain? Not really. I think it's two totally different things. You can't compare AI to blockchain. Blockchain today is at the level of vision, amazing vision, but still at the level of vision. It's at the level of research and development, which means that large organizations, universities, regulators should definitely be investing a lot of money in it. As an entrepreneur, I'm not too sure, because it means a long lead time, and you need a lot of people to work on it together. AI, totally different. AI is a reality. You're not talking about research and development. A lot of the technologies already exist. You just need to apply it, and anybody can implement it. You don't need other people to work with you on that. So let me finish with the words of Paul Misner. I was with Paul yesterday. So Paul is the head of innovation of Amazon. And so we were on stage yesterday, and I finished with my last question, which was, Paul, if you just had one single area to invest in today, what would it be? His answer was artificial intelligence. Thank you.